Hello, everyone. Welcome back to True North podcast. Today, we're talking about being present at home and why that can be such a challenge for men and dads in particular. And we're not just talking about physical presence, we're talking about actually being there emotionally, energetically, as well as physically. And it's quite often a complaint from a lot of wives, partners, that men turn up physically, but not emotionally.
Yeah, I was guilty of that. I was always there physically, sometimes occasionally popping in emotionally and being present and like talking and hanging out and playing. But just being around does not count at all. It can definitely be once you are present emotionally, then being present physically can start to count for you. But you got to be there with them emotionally on their level, looking at your family, looking at your kids, eye level, and listening to them. You have to make dedicated time for that, or it's not gonna help the family unit, and it's not gonna help yourself.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that really prevent men from doing this, and I want to get into that. But it came to a point probably about 10 years ago in my relationship that it nearly caused the end of the relationship. And looking back, what my wife called it was a lack of commitment. And I was like, well, of course I'm committed. Like, we've got 3 kids. I'm here all the time. I've like been with you for 10 years. And she was just like, I don't feel like you're invested. I don't feel like you're here. I don't feel like you're committed to the relationship. And that was a massive source of conflict that sparked quite a lot of my journey, actually, my inner work journey. It's a common complaint.
How do you start that journey? How do you start that, knowing that you've been given that little piece of information? How does that feel when you hear it? And then what's like the first step that you tried?
So denial, I think, was the first stage, like
Yeah.
defensiveness, denial, the usual stuff. I slept on the
yeah.
couch for a while, then I slept in London for a few nights a week, and then it was like, okay, we're going down the process of separation. And then that really forced me to look at where I was, what I was doing. Did I want this to be the end? Did I want this to be the story for my kids? And no, I didn't. And so for me, it was about a decision. It was a decision of, okay, what's more important? Is it my defensiveness or my ego or whatever that is? Or is it this family unit and my kids having parents that are together and can work through this?
What is that voice saying, right? Your voice saying to you, the denial voice. What kind of sentences and what are you hearing?
I can't remember exactly what I was hearing, but I think it was that. It was the I'm committed to you. I've had 3 children with you. I've given you children. I give you my time. I'm here with you. But the reality is she was right. I was still on the fence a little bit. And I think that goes into, again, one of the reasons why men can not feel like they're there energetically. And for me, it was quite a bit of old wounding, quite a bit of old baggage, like the fear of commitment thing, fear of failure that stemmed back to my own parents' divorce.
Yeah.
I was in a way, in hindsight, I was protecting that part of me that felt rejected or felt the trauma of my parents splitting up. I was hedging my bets a little bit, not committing too much for like a fear of that failure or fear of rejection should it go wrong.
Yeah, yeah. So in there, do you think about the kids at all, right? Like during the initial thought process, do you think about their needs? Is that helpful in a part of your motivation to fix yourself? Because that was for me, was thinking about specifically the children and what do they need to grow and be successful in life?
Yeah. My thought process was with the kids was that my dad didn't commit to us, and I had lived through the side effects of that, and I didn't want my kids to feel the same way. That's not to say that staying together is always the right option, but that was my motivation in that time for doing everything that I possibly could to keep the family together.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be like a huge motivating factor, is to start thinking about what do the children need, and you if you can let that spark your flame and get going, then you can really get some good momentum going, at least initially. That's always my pull back in, is like, what do the children need from me? And it's always this very simple answer, because they don't need very much. And if it's such a simple answer, then it's probably very simple and easy and straightforward for me to just give them what they need.
I was thinking about that the other day. I think that's probably the most common reason why men come across our work or start working with us, come into the community, right? There's a million different like side reasons, whether it's mental health or physical health or relationship. But I think men generally just try and work that stuff out on their own. And then when you bring the kids into the equation, the next generation, it brings everything really sharply into focus. And it's like, am I being the dad I want to be? Am I turning up the way I want to turn up? Do I want to pass my shit on to my kids? And the answer for most men is no, I don't want to do that.
That's the right answer. You don't. You really don't. And if you, for me, I knew that I always was going to succeed when the kids were older. I envisioned like when they're old enough for me to play sports with them, or go on hikes, walk around, goof around, wrestle, whatever age that is, 6 or 7, 8. I know I was never going to have a problem with that age, but that takes quite a bit of time to get there. And between when they're born and 8 years from now, right, that's a very different situation. They have a different set of needs. And I personally had absolutely no idea how to like give them what it is that they need. I just didn't know. It wasn't coming in through my mind. I didn't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I didn't understand what it takes, and I wasn't paying attention to it, right? I just wasn't paying attention to it. So what, if you could break it down, what basic things do you think some of these younger kids need, like anybody under the age of like 4?
Well, I think there are probably 4 or 5 basic needs for young children. There's love, there's attention, there's affection, there's safety, there's nourishment. Okay, just need to keep these things alive, these little things alive, give them loads of love and attention and affection. They feel safe, they feel seen, they've got a solid foundation of self-worth. And back to what we're talking about men, about presence. What does presence mean to a child? What does it mean to a family, to a wife? A lot of it is that safety, you being there, and you being a blank canvas, you being the lighthouse, that we like to call it. So you're providing one of those needs by being present, and that is the safety. And the other thing is the attention. So 2 out of those 5 basic needs as a dad, you can provide by just turning up and being present energetically, emotionally, physically. You had an interesting journey with this because you kind of did find that out. You found that you actually did that naturally after you'd been through this process. How was that different when you started just turning up and holding space and being present with the kids?
It felt so easy. It felt like I wish I'd been doing it this whole time, because it's not that much effort. It's not that much work. It's not demanding. I don't feel drained after doing it, and I don't have to do it for all that long. You know, they don't need very much.
What was the kids' reaction to it?
They love it. They love it. They love it. They're warmer with me, because I would sit there and I would just get on their level. Like I'm thinking about now, breakfast. They're sitting there and they're eating breakfast. And I just sit down, pull up a chair next to them, and then just sit there and then look at each one of them while they're eating breakfast. This is probably 10 minutes, 5 minutes. And they're looking at me, and I'll ask them a couple questions about breakfast, let them respond. And then they'll start talking to me about something else, and just kind of making some random sentences put together about whatever. And then you just look at them, and then you kind of go, okay, that was a good 5-10 minutes there. It didn't exactly change the world, but I know that I can feel that they're like a little bit calmer this morning. And then I can walk away and go maybe do the dishes or prep their lunch for school. Fast forward a little bit to like the rest of the day and the rest of the week. I can tell immediately from my kids that they're warmer towards me. They want to be around me. They don't kind of snap to attention when I'm talking. They don't worry that I'm in the house. They're just wanting to be around me. They want to sit on my lap. They want to be with me at bedtime. They don't always just go gravitate and get sucked right in towards mom. I want mom. I want mom. I want mom. Then it started to be like, I'm going to stay downstairs with dad. And I didn't notice that at first. My wife noticed it and said, like, look, well, look at that. Like, he's going to, okay, you can stay, you don't need to go to bath time tonight. Why don't you just hang out here with dad? And I go, okay, I'm just going to sit here and read. So he goes, okay, I didn't read to him that night. He just had a book next to me and we kind of sat on the couch together, which again is another moment, right? So what I noticed was you start stacking these little wins. You start stacking something in the morning. That leads to a better interaction in the evening. And that's two major wins that you can celebrate. These are such small little things, but they could end up being like a permanent memory for your child. And if those two moments get stacked together, that leads into the next day. You just start to compound all of this stuff day in and day out. And then you really start to get confidence to just keep doing it all the time.
It can't be underestimated how important it is for kids. Like those basic needs, meeting those basic needs is so important. We know what happens if you don't have those basic needs met. So you just being there, providing that need for safety, and kids will give you feedback. Like you said, they know what their needs are actually, and they will get them met. If you can meet those needs for them without them having to change their character or play up to you or be who you want them to be, because you're just turning up as a dad and holding space. Like it's so important, that safety, that attention piece, really important. So going back to before you did a lot of the work and built this relationship with the kids, what do you think was holding you back from presence in those moments?
The feeling to execute, the feeling to get things done, the feeling to achieve, always like hot right here, right? I just got to get this done, 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 get this done. Didn't matter how tired I was. I was up in the morning, I did a little workout, and then I had the feeling of prepping, the laundry list. I got breakfast ready, milk ready, vitamins ready, lunch packed, school clothes are out, backpack is packed. We're ready. I have a cognitive schedule for when we need to leave the house because I'm doing this all solo. Bridget will be up by 8. She's going to join us on the walk to school. I have a work meeting. I can't take lunch today. I'm already planning when I'm going to pick him up at 2 and what dinner's going to be, right? I'm nowhere near like, what does he need sitting right over there on that table? He just needs me to not have that sidetracked path thought process. He needs me to just go sit over there and just do nothing. Like, he doesn't even need a whole lot, right? It's not a big effort. Sit there.
Yeah.
And just look at him.
And that's because the list of stuff isn't for him, right? The list of stuff is for you because you feel out of control or you feel anxious or you feel angry and you're not present in your body. So you're in your brain and you're trying to change the way you feel or solve problems by achieving and making lists. And all the while you think, or we think we're doing it for our kids, but they're just over here with these really basic needs.
Yeah. And it wouldn't matter if I would make the next day easier. I go, okay, I can make this easier. I'll pack his lunch mostly the night before. That's a big task. I'll at least think about breakfast. So then we're good to go. That'll solve the problem tomorrow. And then the next day happens. And all I did was, fill in that time that I got from having to prep his lunch that I saved the night before. I just filled with something else. Like maybe I shaved before I got to leave today. Right. So that moment that I could have got back, I just replaced with another thing to do. Right. So I'm just feeding my own problem. I'm not actually solving any problems. I was just going over and over and over, repeating the same habits.
Yeah. I think that's a common one. I think looking back for me, my kids are a bit older now, but I can remember trying to be there physically. So coming home from work, trying to get back for story time. I worked in London at a time, so it was like, okay, finish. I got to finish now. I was managing a team, but it was like, I know I want to be a good dad, so I'm leaving on time or early, and then I'm rushing to the station, just about getting on the train, then getting an hour's train home, then getting back, and then reading a story, which I think is the right thing to do, but actually I'm bringing like guilt, stress, like everything like into this kid's bedroom. I'm
Yep.
thinking about
Yeah.
the emails because I left early, so I need to get back to the people after I've read this bedtime story.
But yeah, they can feel your energy coming off of you
Yeah.
for sure. You're not hiding it that well. There's no way.
You are not hiding it at all, so they can feel it. So the fact that I was turning up and trying to be a good dad, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
My mind was on the emails I need to write afterwards, and energetically I was still stressed, or I was, resentful of not being able to work as much as I wanted, and resentful for having to rush to the train, and whatever it was. But that was my energy. I was carrying that with me into these poor little kids' bedrooms in the last thing at night, and trying to have a positive impact when it wasn't at all.
I have a minor, it's not exactly like that, right? But so I was busy thinking about executing tasks. And that was that was a habit that I had. And it was still lingering after doing all this work, right? The executing. And then it was always books, right? So I got to read a couple books for the boys to go to bed. Got to read, it was like 2-3 books, probably about 20 minutes. I got to read before they go to bed. Got to read before they go to bed. And that was like grooved as a habit. We got to do it, got to do it, got to do it. But over this last month, I'm wiped because we have a newborn. I simply can't read. And I just kept pushing it, and it was making me in this bad mood. So then instead, I started to think about the situation differently and giving them something different. I go, can we just listen to a story, right? Like, what are the kids' needs? Well, they just want to be around me. So, okay, we all lay in Orion's bed, and we just kind of lay there and listen to a story, and we listen to about it for about a half hour. And I noticed that they still kind of get this whole decompression, relaxation bond, connect with me, going into bed very smooth. And it's also less work for me. So it might be a habit that stays around as I'm taking a nice break from reading and just sitting there, and I read my own book, and they kind of cuddle up, and I'm like, oh, this is a little bit better for me. I was still guilty of like the execution. Got it. Oh, got it. Go get it. Go get a book. We got to read some books. I'm just kind of draining myself needlessly.
Yeah, it's easily done. I mean, you're in the state, I don't know what kind of state you call it in the 3 months after having a newborn, but I think anything goes in that period. You just got to get through it. You're in survival mode.
Yeah.
It's not about optimal parenting in this point in time.
No. We've been guilty of a lot, but we're still very present and still very loving. And it's a different environment in the house than the first 2 times around, right? We're much more experienced. We're much more present, much more okay, leaning on these crutches, leaning on TV, leaning on getting some help. As long as you're still giving the kids the basic needs that they need, they're going to adapt some way. And it's been interesting to actually see both of my children, who are 6 and 3, adapt in their own way. They're growing, right? Like they're being given an opportunity, and they're both taking it. Orion is 6, and he's starting to be much more independent. He picks like half the snacks he wants for school. He puts them in his lunchbox. He gets his water ready. He chooses any of the clothes he wants to wear. He likes to wear his shirt backwards. He wants to wear his sweatpants backwards because it feels better. And you go, great, man. Do whatever you want to do. I want to go in my room. Go in your room, bud. It's different, right?
Let's talk a little bit about the underlying reasons for not being present. We've talked about the logistics stuff, but I think that this is a thing for all of the men I've worked with over the last 10 years. I think we've touched on a few of them. The first guy is the kind of workaholic or like achievement focused guy. So what happens is You get love when you're a kid for high achieving, right? And then you take that into adulthood. You work hard, you get a good job, you get a good position, you do this. Everything's pretty clear, right? It's dysfunctional because you're getting all your self-worth from success and money and promotions. But then what happens is the child comes into your world who suddenly needs, and there's a big need from that child on you as a man. But the problem is you get all your love from work and you get all your love from achievement. So taking time out of that busy schedule to be present at home when your wife needs you and when your children need you means that it's at odds with this unconscious need to receive love through achievement. So a lot of these men find it really hard to switch off. They find it really hard to prioritize their family over their work. Even though they want to, they can't, because they've still got their basic needs, which they're getting met through work. Yeah, so these are the guys that are at home, but always checking their phone, their emails. They're going for a walk at the weekend with their kids, but they're always checking their emails because that's where they get the love. That's where they get the attention. There's a lot of guys like that.
I know a lot of guys like that. That's the most common thing that I see for my friend group and my acquaintances. I was at a party yesterday at my brother's, and one of the guys there is like that. But that's kind of what he explains. He's like, well, I own, then he gives an excuse. Well, I own my own business. You gotta always something to do. You're like, well, that's, okay, okay. Yeah, right. It's an excuse that you gave yourself. You put your, you might not have chosen that job. That job chose you. You just don't realize that yet.
Exactly. And your kids don't care. And you got the first 5 or 6 years of your life to give your kids the safety and the attention that they need, and the love and the affection that they need from you as a dad. And believe me, your wife's got the same needs, right? She needs you to be present when you're at home.
That's got to be a tough one, the workaholic one, because there's like the need to provide for your family, right? Well, I need to provide for my family. My effort towards this business is critical to the success of my company, and I need to work so hard so I can make a paycheck and provide this for them. It must be hard to dial it back and learn why you need to dial it back. This is actually the one that I have the difficult time explaining and kind of debating with people who really feel that they need to work so hard to achieve.
Yeah, it's a choice, really. But it's always possible to find balance. And I go back to our good friend Andrew Rotter, who said, he said, I thought that becoming the number one salesperson would solve my problems. And he thought that's what his role was as a dad. But actually, in meeting and healing that part of him that learnt that he was only valuable and lovable via his achievement, and healing that part of him, he realized there was another way to be. He actually realized there was another way to live. And he realized that his kids didn't need extra money. They needed to see their dad. And he realized there was another way to be a parent.
There is another way. There's not just another way to interact with your kids, but it kind of does start there for a lot of guys, at least for my group. It started with like the kid thing. Like that was my feedback, right? Then it slowly bled into like, okay, the relationship with my wife. Then it bled from there into kind of mixed in with my relationship with myself, kind of intertwined with all of that. And then it took a long time before I could realize that it's not just that, it's also work. And then once work comes in, then it becomes like, well, my whole reality, my whole world can change, all because I started with my kids. But you can change your entire reality, right? I even doubted that, but you absolutely can do it if you choose to help yourself in this way.
You don't have a choice when you do the work. Your reality changes because you change. You don't even change your reality. It's a natural side effect.
Yeah, you experience that it is changing, and that can give you that feedback from your new experiences, spark up new feelings. It sparks up new thoughts. And that was really interesting for me, was like, I don't have to work at all to be present with my kids, right? I don't have to think about it. It just happens. We just, am I a perfect dad? No, but that just happens. I enjoy it. We have a good time. Do I think at all about somebody cutting me off in traffic? Do I just go right to, screw that guy? This person did that to me. Like, absolutely not. Nothing. It's just, okay, let's slow down a little bit. That person's got something going on. Let it go. I don't have to think about it, right? It just happens. It's interesting to have those new, much more positive and like enlightening thoughts. It's just the weight on your shoulders just kind of falls off. You go, life can be so much more relaxing than I was making it be.
You're completely right. And it's a great point that presence is a natural human state when you haven't got all this other stuff going on. So you don't have to try to be present. You arrive at presence when you're not doing all this other stuff. Let's talk about other types of guys, because not everyone's the kind of workaholic type of absent father. There's also other types, other guys that are within the community, and that's more like the guys that get hijacked emotionally. These guys are really carrying around the massive emotional burdens and baggage of their past and constantly attaching to those emotions, whether that's I'm sad, I'm lonely, it's hopeless, in the form of that depression, sadness. Again, you're re-experiencing that old emotion, that old baggage all the time, or you're angry, or you're anxious, like carrying around these massive bundles of emotion with you, right? Completely dominating your experience, but also you're saddling your children with that. You're in this room with all this anger and anxiety and sadness, and your kids there. They feel it. They can't escape it. So back to those basic needs of safety and attention and love and affection. You just can't give them if you are overwhelmed with emotional baggage.
I've been in the room with a lot of people like that, and you can feel it. You can feel it. Now that I have a lot of clarity, it feels like I have this appropriate usage of my senses, and I can I can see it on their forehead and their eyes. I see a lot of this at the park near my house with the dads. I can feel it from 100 yards away. I go, that dude does not want to be here. Dude is really pissed off right now.
Yeah, you see it with like parents shouting at their kids, and you're like, poor kids, like, what did they do wrong? Probably nothing.
Yeah. I've seen it at the park a lot. I see it maybe not like the anger one is obvious, but I see a different version. I don't know exactly how to phrase this or what to call it. Maybe you can help me. I see guys at the park. They're good dads. The moms will say that person's a good dad. They volunteer at school, but I can tell that he's not taking care of himself. He's disheveled. Like, he doesn't have a well-kept beard or facial hair. It's just like, it's just out, I guess. And then hair, he's just done nothing for himself, and he's really overweight, and his shirt's like not washed. I think he's not taking care of himself, but everybody's saying, look how good he's treating his kids. Look at everything he's giving to his kids. He's nice to talk to. He volunteers in class. But I'm like, I don't know what that's called, but he needs to help himself. He needs to take care of himself better.
There's a lot of those dads around. Do you know, it reminds me of this saying that most men live lives of quiet desperation.
Yeah.
And it's like this guy that's trying to do everything right. In terms of trauma and adaptive behaviors, I think it's like the people pleaser. So he's trying to be a good dad. He's trying to be a good partner. He's a nice guy, right? But it's not false, but it's all to try and get love. There's nothing in there for him. He's not connected to his inspiration. He doesn't do things for himself. He doesn't fill his own cup before looking after everyone else.
Yeah, he's not bleeding his emotions into all these other people around him as obviously as the angry guy that I can see so obviously is agitating everyone around him. even the adults. But this guy's not. But it is to me because I can feel him. I'm like, man, I know,
Yeah.
I'm starting to get him to know him a bit. I want to be like, yo, you and me, like, let's go golf, or let's go walk 9. Let's go on a hike. Let's go to the gym. Let's get you doing something, man. Like, you got to find
Yeah.
time for yourself here.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't give from an empty cup. Like, it will lead to resentment, it will lead to burnout, it will lead to illness. You know, at the end of the day, those wives that are saying, yeah, he's a good dad, like, that relationship is not going to last if you're just giving everything to be a good person and letting yourself go and not being happy, no energy. It's really dysfunctional. And think about what you're modeling for your kids, for your sons, for your
God, I've been thinking about that a lot, but I'm giving myself a lot of leeway because of the newborn phase. But like, I think about how my kids perceive me and how they perceive my wife because they hear us talking all the time. And anybody that thinks that this 3-year-old doesn't know what you're talking about, he doesn't need to. He hears your tone, and that's enough, right? That's enough. But you got to lead by example, and you got to just kind of, leading by example is so easy if you're living an authentic life and you're connected to your body. Everything just becomes so much easier. But I really feel for that dad that doesn't take care of himself, because I'm pretty good at doing that, at least for myself. And I just feel most empathetic towards that guy because I don't think anybody else sees him.
Yeah. What did Ryan call them? The sad clowns or something?
Sad clown. Yeah, sad clown.
Yeah. The guys that are pretending to be happy, but you can see that, and especially when you're in tune with your own emotions, you can see that level when nobody's looking and the face drops and they're fucking miserable.
Yeah.
So yeah, even those guys, they may think that they are being present, but they're not being authentic in that moment, and they're not giving from a place of love. They're giving because they basically learned that they need to be nice kids, nice men to be lovable. They're people pleasers, essentially.
Yeah, I have such a description of him. He's carrying a baby. He's got a carrier, and he's got 2 other kids at the park. And you're like, and you're pushing one on a swing and talking to the third. I'm like, damn, I go to the park so I can kind of stop being present, to be honest. It's a cheat code. I'm present at home and here, and then we go to a park. Like, I kind of push away a bit. I'm like, there are like 40 kids here. Let me try to talk to an adult for a moment, please. But it's like he goes, and still you're like, okay, I'm at the place where there's other kids and there's other toys and a whole playground, and still I'm going to interact with them the whole time. Man, you gotta let something go, bud.
So let's sum it up for the guys that may be listening that feel like they might fit into one of those categories. Like, you feel overwhelmed by your emotion and you struggle to create safe space for the kids. You feel like you're people pleasing, you're doing everything, but it's coming at a cost to you, right? And there's resentment there and you're letting yourself go. Or you're one of those guys that really struggles to switch off from work and you feel like you're not being as present as you want to be. Yeah, we all know people like that. I've been a mixture of those things. So have you. All of the guys at the Lighthouse Project have probably experienced either one of those things or a combination of those things. If you are experiencing those things, it's very likely that somebody in the community has been through what you're going through, and you can talk to them and get some advice for them. And then the process that we offer allows you to heal those wounds, whether that's let go of the emotional baggage or meet the kid that was a people pleaser or meet the part of you that needed to achieve and succeed to be lovable. And it's in releasing that emotion and healing those parts of you that you can turn up fully present as the parent and the partner that you want to be.